Okay, so check your calendars, everyone. It is February 11th, 2026.
Right.
And if you have been anywhere near a tech news feed in the last, 48 hours?
Or even just glanced at your phone.
Exactly. You know, the ground just shifted beneath our feet again.
It feels like we say that every 6 months, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you're right. This time, the vibration is different. We aren't just looking at a spec sheet update.
No,
This was a genuine heavyweight fight.
that's the perfect way to put it. In the red corner, we've got Anthropic's shiny new Claude 4.6 Opus.
And in the blue corner, Google's Gemini 3 Flash.
Two of the biggest, baddest models on the planet. But here's the thing, and I think this is why we're doing this deep dive. I am so tired of benchmark charts.
Oh, me too.
Oh, this one scored an 89.2 on MMLU. Great. What does that actually mean for me, when I'm trying to get work done on a Tuesday morning?
I am right there with you. Benchmarks are fine for engineers, I guess,
Hmm.
but they rarely tell you how a model feels to use. They don't tell you if it's going to hallucinate or, overcomplicate a simple script. That's why today is so interesting. We are unpacking this massive stress test.
From Amanda Caswell over at Tom's Guide.
Exactly. And she did not go easy on them.
She called them brutal challenges, right?
Brutal is the word. 9 of them. All designed specifically to break these models. We're talking logic riddles that trip up humans. We're talking hardcore system design.
And creative writing with, impossible constraints.
Right. The goal here was to find genuine multi-step thinking. Can they actually judge context?
Right.
Or are they just, very expensive autocorrects?
Let's find out. Let's dive into round one, pure logic and reasoning.
This is where we separate the thinkers from the talkers.
And they kicked it off with a classic, the snail problem.
Ah, the snail problem. It's a classic for a reason. So for anyone who hasn't heard it, a snail's at the bottom of a 30-foot well.
Okay.
Every day, it climbs up 3 feet. But every night, it slips back 2 feet. The question is, on what day does it get out?
Okay, so my immediate gut reaction is 3 feet up, 2 feet down. That's a net 1 foot per day. 30-foot well, 30 days.
And that is exactly the trap. That is what psychologists call System 1 thinking. Fast, intuitive.
And completely wrong.
And completely wrong, because you miss the end condition.
Right. On that last day, it climbs the 3 feet, and it's out. It doesn't slide back down.
Precisely. So on day 28, it starts at 27 feet, climbs its 3 feet, hits the top, and it's free. The answer is 28 days.
It's so obvious when you lay it out. So how did our contenders do? Did they fall for the 30 days trap?
Well, this is where we see the first major split. Claude 4.6 Opus just nailed it.
Really?
Immediately. It didn't just get the number right, it explained why.
Hmm.
It identified that last day insight. It felt like common sense.
Okay, so Claude was thinking clearly. What about Gemini?
Gemini 3 Flash. Well, it struggled. I mean, to be fair, it got the right number in the end, but the process was painful. It got so bogged down, defining terms like net daily progress and the last day rule, it felt like a textbook, not a thinking partner.
That's a huge distinction. You don't want a lecture, you want a solution. So Claude was natural, Gemini was pedantic.
You got it. And then they moved on to something way, way harder. A logic puzzle. 5 houses,
Yeah.
different colors, a mysterious milk drinker.
Oh, no, I hate those. The Englishman lives in the red house.
Exactly, the constraint satisfaction problems.
Hmm.
But this one had a catch.
What was the catch?
It was heavily underdetermined.
Okay, explain what that means for us non-logicians.
It means there isn't enough information to find one single perfect answer. There are multiple valid solutions.
That sounds like a nightmare for an AI. They hate ambiguity. They want to give you the answer.
They absolutely do. They crave completion. And that's what made this test so clever.
So what happened?
Claude recognized the ambiguity. It didn't guess. It basically said, hey, there's no single solution here, but here are all 24 valid arrangements laid out in a table.
Wow, so it was intellectually honest.
It was. And Gemini.
Let me guess, it panicked.
It panicked. It tried to force a solution by making up a rule that wasn't in the clues. It assigned milk to a specific house block just to make the puzzle work.
Oof. See, that is a deal breaker. If I'm using an AI for work, I can't have it making up rules to make the pieces fit.
100%. That's the difference between a tool you trust and one you have to constantly double-check.
Right. If I have to check your work, I might as well do it myself.
And that theme of professionalism carried right over into the third logic challenge, causal reasoning.
This was the business scenario, right? A manager wants to cancel a promotion because the website keeps crashing.
Yes, exactly. It's the classic correlation does not equal causation fallacy.
The promotions aren't causing the crashes. The extra traffic from the promotions is. You don't cancel the promotion, you upgrade the server.
You got it. It's a trick question for business sense. And look, both models were smart enough to spot the fallacy. They both said don't cancel.
But the quality was different.
Vastly different. Gemini was sharp. It was actionable. It said, this is wrong. Here is why. It's good. But Claude.
What did Claude do?
Claude wrote a superior professional memo. It didn't just correct the manager. It gave a whole suite of solutions. It talked about server scaling, load balancing. It even provided an educational framework.
So if Gemini was a smart colleague, Claude was the senior VP.
That is a perfect way to put it. You'd copy-paste Claude's memo straight into an email to the CEO. You'd have to rewrite Gemini's.
Okay, so round 1 goes decisively to Claude. But let's move to the engine room. Round 2. The coding gauntlet.
This is where things get really interesting for any developers listening. And even if you aren't a coder, this tells you a lot about how these models think through complex structures.
They started with an algorithm design challenge, meeting intervals.
Right. The problem is simple. You have a list of meetings with start and end times. You need to write code to figure out the minimum number of conference rooms you need.
A scheduling conflict problem.
Basically. And Claude, again, just showed its dominance. It provided what we call production-ready code.
What does production-ready actually mean here?
It means it didn't just solve the puzzle. It included error handling. It had test cases to prove it worked. It explained the time and space complexity, basically how efficient the code is. It was a complete engineering solution.
And Gemini.
Gemini was fine. It was actually a good learning tool. It showed you a slow way to do it first, then an optimized way, like a tutor.
But if you're on a deadline...
You want Claude, I can copy that code and know it won't break my app.
So Claude is the better engineer. Next was system design, a URL shortener, like bit.ly, that can handle 100 million URLs.
A classic senior tech interview question.
Yeah.
And Claude went so far above and beyond. It designed a full database schema, wrote the API code, discussed hashing strategies.
I heard it even drew a diagram.
It did, an actual visual architecture diagram, a complete technical specification. That's something that takes a human architect a day or more to do.
That's incredible. And Gemini.
Gemini kept it simple. It suggested a basic encoding method and a key value schema. It works. It's not wrong. But if Claude's solution was a skyscraper, Gemini's was a shed.
So Claude is just sweeping the floor with Gemini on all the technical stuff. It sounds like a blowout. But wait, there was a massive upset, wasn't there?
Yes. And this is such a fascinating turning point. The challenge was debugging.
Okay, set the scene.
You've got a Python web scraper. It's supposed to grab text from a website, but it's returning empty results, even though you can see the content in your browser.
I've had that happen. It's usually JavaScript loading the content late or the site is blocking you.
Exactly. So the prompt was, fix this. And Claude did what Claude does. It over-engineered.
How so?
It suggested using a tool called Selenium. It's very powerful, but it's also really heavy and complex. Claude wrote this massive script with all these advanced bot evasion techniques. It was like bringing a tank to a knife fight.
It would have worked, but it was overkill.
Total overkill.
Yeah.
And then Gemini came in.
And what did Gemini suggest?
Gemini looked at the problem and just said, use Playwright.
Playwright.
It's a modern, much cleaner automation library. It's faster, simpler, and built for the modern web. Gemini's solution was like 5 lines of code.
Wow.
It was more practical, faster to run, and just better aligned with how a developer would actually solve this today.
So in this case, being smarter and more complex was actually a disadvantage for Claude.
Precisely. This is a huge insight. Sometimes you just need the tool that works fastest and easiest. Claude was in old-school enterprise mode, Gemini was in modern startup mode, and Gemini won on practicality.
That is a really important distinction. Okay, so now let's get to the soft skills. Round 3, creativity and communication.
This is where the personality of the models really starts to shine, and honestly, this is where the results surprised me the most.
They started with a constrained writing challenge. Write a 200-word horror story where every sentence starts with the next letter of the alphabet. A, B, C, and it had to have a twist.
That is so hard to do without the story just falling apart. By the time you get to X and Z, you're just forcing it.
Xylophones played quietly while zebras watched.
Exactly. It kills the mood.
Yeah.
And here's the surprise. Gemini won this one.
It did.
Yeah. Claude wrote a story about body swapping. It was okay, but you could feel the constraint. The narrative felt a bit forced.
And Gemini?
Gemini wrote a story about a murderer's supernatural punishment. And the kicker was, the story flowed so well, you almost didn't notice the A to Z rule. And the twist ending was genuinely impressive.
So it wasn't just a word puzzle for Gemini, it was actual storytelling.
Exactly. It prioritized the story over the rules.
I love that. But then came the ambiguity test. The sentence was, I saw her duck.
A classic.
Right. Did you see her lower her head? Did you see her pet bird?
Or her specialized fabric.
The duck fabric. I didn't even know that was a thing. But Claude found 5 different interpretations, and the challenge was to write a comedy sketch about it.
And Claude was hilarious here. It wrote this chaotic, escalating sketch where the characters just could not get on the same page. It was genuinely funny.
What about Gemini?
Gemini was solid, but it wasn't as funny. It was logical comedy. Claude understood that real comedy comes from confusion and chaos.
So Claude has a sense of humor, but
Yeah.
the final challenge is the one that really stuck with me. The teaching test.
The ultimate test of empathy for an AI. The prompt was to explain quantum entanglement to a 5-year-old, a college freshman, and a PhD physicist.
Not an easy topic, the whole spooky action at a distance thing.
No, it's not. And this is where Gemini won, hands down.
Ow.
It all came down to the analogies. To explain it to the 5-year-old, Claude used magic coins.
Okay, that makes sense. One is heads, the other must be tails.
It makes sense to us, but for a 5-year-old, a coin flip is a random event. The idea of a correlated state is too abstract.
So what did Gemini use?
Magic socks.
Magic socks.
Think about it. A kid understands socks. They come in pairs. If you put the left sock on, the other one has to be the right sock. It's automatic. It's a connection a child intuitively understands.
That is actually brilliant. It takes the probability out and just focuses on the instant connection.
Right, and it didn't stop there. For the college freshmen, it anticipated their big question. Can we send messages faster than light with this?
The big sci-fi trope.
And it addressed that misconception directly. Then for the PhD, it dropped all the analogies and just used pure mathematical formalism.
So Gemini really tailored its voice.
Drastically. Claude was more uniform. You dumbed down the words, but the structure of the explanation was pretty similar. Gemini was a much better teacher.
So where does that leave us? The final score was Claude winning 6 challenges, Gemini winning 3.
On the surface, it looks like a blowout for Claude. 6-3 is decisive. But the verdict is so much more nuanced than that.
Break it down. Who is Claude for?
Claude is for depth, rigor, and code you can ship. If you're doing heavy engineering, complex logic, or you need a professional-grade output that covers all the bases, Claude is your tool. It's the senior engineer in the room.
And Gemini?
Gemini is the winner when less is more. It wins on practicality, on speed, and on audience-adaptive explanation. It's the human communicator.
That's a fascinating split.
It is, and it leads to a really provocative thought. For a long time, we assumed that as models got smarter, better at logic and math, they'd naturally get better at everything else.
A straight line up to general intelligence.
Exactly. But this test suggests otherwise. Gemini is likely a smaller, more efficient model. That's why they call it Flash. Yet, it won the human tasks.
It told a better story. It was a better teacher.
It debugged code with a simpler, more modern tool. So are we reaching a point where these smaller, faster models are becoming the better communicators?
While the massive models become specialized logic engines?
It's a real possibility. Maybe in the future, you'll have a face AI that talks to you, that gets you, that has personality. And when you ask it a really hard math problem, it just quietly outsources that to a brain AI, like Claude, in the background.
A face and a brain. The bicameral mind of AI. I like that.
It means you stop looking for the one best AI and you start choosing the right tool for the task.
Don't hire a philosopher to fix your sink.
And don't hire a plumber to write your dissertation.
Sage advice. If I want to write a spooky story for my kids, I'm going to Gemini. If I want to re-architect my company's database, I'm going to Claude.
That's the takeaway.
Well, that wraps up this deep dive into the AI battle of February 2026.
One last thing before we go.
What's that?
I really want to encourage everyone listening to try that test. Go to your favorite AI and ask it to explain something complex to a 5-year-old. See if it actually speaks like a 5-year-old understands, or if it just uses smaller words.
Test the empathy of your tools. I love it.
You'll learn a lot.
I'm going to go do that right now. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep learning, stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next deep dive.